Well, hello everybody. This is Dr. Guy White, and I want to welcome you to the world's greatest school mastermind, the July Q&A edition. And I'm just so happy to be here with many of my good friends. In particular, my teacher, my mentor, Richard Parkhouse. Park, say hi.
Hello, hello.
Excellent. So my hope today is that as we get into this, that whatever we discuss will greatly benefit your school, your students, the teachers with which you work, with whom you work, your administrators, everyone who's connected with your school. And one of the things that my mentor, Park, has taught me is that which we do can have a cascading effect from generation to generation of student. It's not just about the kids whose eyes you see every day, though though those are clearly, I think, the most important people in our world. What happens is what we do with these students has a profound effect on our community and upon the generations that follow them. So Park, please teach us.
Well, good morning, everyone. Looking forward to a great interactive session today. We want to make sure that we have an opportunity where everybody is going to benefit from one another, as I truly believe you surround yourself with great people and great things are going to happen. So before we get into this, speaking of great people, I just want to acknowledge my good friend here, Dr. Guy. And if you didn't know, he just launched a new app.
You're out of control.
He has no idea I'm doing this, but it's time to acknowledge greatness because I'm just so impressed with Guy's work, and this is just another example is that he did this himself, where he programmed and put all this together. So if you know anybody who's in doctoral mode and dissertation mode, this is a great paid commercial for my good friend, Dr. Guy. So always impressed with his creativity and his own individual greatness. Just absolutely amazing guy. So
you said it's a paid commercial. Am I getting a bill later?
Yes.
Okay.
This is part of that commercial for you. And,
all right. So, can I bring up a metaphor here though for a second?
Sure.
There's something really important on the screen. Look at the star rating. You see how it says 4.6?
Yes.
So 4.6 is like average. It's in the app world. If you have like 3, it's a bad app. If you have a 5, it's a great app. A 4.6 is like a B- in the app world. And take a wild guess, Park. How many ratings did it take to lower it from a 5 to a 4.5? 4.6.
I have no idea.
Just one rating, one bad rating. And so there's something really profound to me about the idea. I mean, you and I know that good ideas spread far slower than bad ideas. Bad ideas spread like wildfire, right? And now the person that wrote that review had some. There were some mistakes that they made, and there were some things that I had to do too. But it's really surprising to me how sometimes just one bad interaction, one bad situation can make all the difference for lots of people, including myself in this case. I mean, have there been times in your experience where one student, one administrator, one bad decision has just completely changed things to the worse for you and your school?
And this is open to everyone. So remember, please, if you're going to speak, unmute. The other thing that I want everybody.
I hear Larry there.
Larry, just before you start, what I'd like to do is remind everyone that we are recording this session. Okay. So if you don't want to be recorded, just stay muted the whole time. But please be aware that this webinar will be recorded for future use. So take it away, Larry.
Well, it reminds me of, the negative power of negative, and it's horrendous. And it's what sells newspapers, frankly, let's be honest. And whether it's in schools or churches or businesses or anything you're doing. You can't just, some of our companies, which were founded before the Civil War on the East Coast in South Carolina, when I got there, 50 years ago, whatever happened in the newspaper thing, the people who were leading the company at the time would say no comment. Well, that doesn't work. You can't say no comment. You've got to defend why what we do is the right thing. And if you don't do that, they all believe that whatever they said is true. So it's upon all of us, I think, as leaders and educators and visionaries and people who make things happen, to stand up for what we believe in. We don't have to have a knockdown, drag out fight, but we ought to say, here's the reasons why we do what we do, and this is what we feel, and so forth. I think that's the essence of it.
Well said. And just to say just to follow what Larry's saying, my experience, at least for myself as an educator, is there came a time where I had to make the choice: do I remain silent or do I lose my job? and I don't know about you, but there's something really important to me about living to my conviction and knowing that my task is to help these students. And so sometimes what I have to say is not going to be popular, and that can be very risky for me. I would rather go to my deathbed knowing that I gave my all for these students than just to remain silent and let something happen that I don't believe in. Now, naturally, you choose your battles. So Park, why don't you give us the agenda of today? What do you hope that we're going to be talking about today?
Well, what I'd really like to focus on, and the title of our webinar today is, what makes your school special? And what creates this special environment so people want to come to the school, because there's some statistics out there that when we talk about why do we really need to focus on this, from a statistical point of view, over 50% of kids are disengaged. Just over 50% of kids believe there's no hope. If we look at what's going on in California, 40% of our K-8 schools have chronic absenteeism. In terms of the engagement or disengagement, we have 34% of our teachers nationally are engaged. So if we look at this data, we really need to be able to take a look at what are we doing in our schools to create special places. Why should I want to come to the school? So that's sort of the gist today, where we want to open up some dialogue. And this is really set up to be an interactive, participative time together so we can all grow. In the past, this has essentially been Guy and I, and we want to start developing interaction from lots of people. So when we move into this, Guy, this is, you do such a beautiful job of discussing the inside me and outside me, because our focus with building the world's greatest school is to take with the greatness that is within all of us, within all of our schools, and bring that out. So Guy, why don't you talk just a little bit about the transformation process?
In our last Q&A session in June, we discussed this at length, and I would recommend that anyone that's here listening to this recording or here live today would go back and watch that Q&A call and learn about this model. But in summary, this model simply suggests that human beings, we experience the world in 4 different ways. There's only 4 different ways that you can, or me, that I can understand reality. And it's in these 4 quadrants. The first is this quadrant of what's inside me. This quadrant of my personal values, my personal beliefs, my personal belief in my purpose, my moral compass. That is something that is inside me. And unless I vocalize it, or unless I do something out in the world, you would have no idea that those thoughts are occurring inside my brain, and so on. Those are private, and you have those. I mean, think about the things. Think about the things that you are willing to fight for, and the values that underlie those. Those are inside of you. Those are privately yours. unless you share them. Now, outside me, that is you in the world, you can go and do things. You can go to work. You can run. You can eat a burrito. Maybe I'll do that later today. And these are things that you do out in the world. And this is what other people can see, right? So just between these two, notice how there can be an alignment where what I believe is what I do in the world. There can also be a misalignment. There can be, I have a personal belief in freedom, in my ability. And by freedom, maybe it's, I want to be able to create things when I want to create them. Or I want to learn in a certain way that where someone's not forcing me to learn in a certain way. Or maybe in respect to your students, maybe your students really care about expressing themselves in a way that maybe they're not typically allowed to at a school. So they want to express themselves in a certain way. That's a value that they hold. And then there can be a misalignment where they are not able to actually do that in the world. Think about this. Each of you has a desire for the school at which you work. And then every single day you're exposed to many situations where that reality cannot come to fruition. You cannot do that for whatever reason. That would be a misalignment. Now, naturally, not everything is about alignment or misalignment. There's lots of shades. There's things we do every day that aren't in complete alignment with what our personal values are, but they're getting close. They're on the way to those personal values and so on. So that's just two. That's the inside and outside you. Separate from that is now we get into the plural. This is the lower part, the lower two boxes in this quadrant, where we bring in other people into our life. And largely, as we're here in the World's Greatest School Mastermind, naturally, we're talking about all four of these quadrants, but these bottom two become especially important. That bottom left one, inside us, these are our shared beliefs, our shared values, our shared purpose. And by our, I can mean you and your family. I can mean you and your school, you and your community. These are things that we often call culture. It's the shared beliefs, the shared value, the shared purpose that each of us share. And it's not just writing on the wall. It's things that we actually interior believe together. And so, if we were to go into your hallways at your school, and we were to actually ask each student, what is great about being here at this school? The answers we get together in sum, the themes that we get by talking to many different students, this is probably a representation of the culture of your school. If you ask students, what does this school believe about students? And if they had an answer to that, and if we looked at the themes of all the answers to those, we'd probably get some clues to what their shared values, purpose are at your school. Now, outside us, this is what we do together. And so this is, practically speaking, this is the activities of the school. This would be the rules, the regulations, the policies that are at the school. This could be school traditions, what we do together in the world. Now, notice where this misalignment can happen. And I'm going to propose a very common situation. Maybe a new principal comes in, or an assistant principal gets fired up, and they are excited about creating shared culture, shared values, shared purpose. And so what do? They create all these posters. They create all these value statements, and they put them up on the wall in classrooms and the entryways and so on. But wouldn't you know it, that the policies and procedures and the way that the school goes about doing its daily business starkly mismatches that value statement. I tell you something, when I work with students, and having worked with high school students directly for over 12 years, and Park, you know this, everyone on this call knows this, is that when high school, any student, but mostly high school students, when they sense inauthenticity at all, it's over. They know that you're not going to be true to your word. When you say, I care about you, and I'm willing to do anything for you as one of my students, but sorry, I can't talk to you during lunch because I have to eat my Fiesta bowl. That sends a message. My door is locked to you during these hours. Don't come by. I'm doing attendance. I care about you. I'm willing to bend over backwards for you. I'm willing to do anything to make sure you learn. But if you show up 1 minute late to my class, you have to go to the office. Notice how just these extreme situations, those mismatches are shown. So what's our goal? Well, our goal is to create alignment. But really, primarily, my hope is that you can create awareness in each one of these quadrants. Because we can't create alignment unless you're aware of what's in there. Unless you know what your values are, there's no possibility or very little possibility that you can create alignment with your actions and actually do things that are consistent with your values. You'll just do it. So my hope is that you'll create awareness. And so through our ongoing conversations in these calls, I hope you'll build awareness. So Park, thanks for that chance to talk about these quadrants. And my hope is that each of you, based upon this amazing model provided to us by Ken Wilber, the philosopher, that you'll have an opportunity to learn more about yourself in your school. Thanks, Park.
My guy, you do such a beautiful job with that. And as we look at this, and one of the things that has really struck me in looking at values and beliefs is most people don't know what it is that they believe as a school community. And they don't have beliefs. They have individual beliefs and they have individual values. But when we get to the outside piece and we look at the lower right-hand quadrant, that piece usually doesn't occur. I haven't seen a lot of it. And so our attempt with Greatness Inside Out is to bring this alive in your school, because a very, very simple question that the first value of the world's greatest is we are what we believe, and what we believe unifies us. So my thought was, if we don't have beliefs as a school community, then what is it we believe? And if we don't have values as a school community, what is it that we value? So with this in mind, I want to open up a conversation based on just talking about your schools or previous schools or schools you visited, that what makes your school a special place? What are some of the things that you have done or have you seen done in other schools? So please remember, if you're going to go ahead and start, to unmute your speakers and take it away. Anybody like to start?
Well, this is Larry Biddle. The thing, Park and Guy, that triggers my thought is the fact that for many years, actually decades, I've said, and we have, that every student is gifted. They just don't open their packages at the same time. And for me, that has driven my focus, daily focus, really 24/7, 366, since we're coming into leap year, for students, because that's the reason we built the place, and Staffulty as well, which when you say students, they're the parents. And when you say students and parents, Staffulty is the next step. So that's where a strong alignment is, in my opinion, based on what I've seen for many, many years, decades, really.
I especially appreciate Larry's comment about they just open their packages at different times. I think, thank you, Larry. I think I'm going to adopt that metaphor. I love that.
Well, it's true. You know, we've seen it. I've seen it in my own children. I've seen it in all the schools that I've worked in, whether it's, you know, I was in a K-12, I was in high school. I was at the college level at Coastal Carolina University, and it's just what it is. And to realize, we talked about this in our church on Sunday, that everyone, I mean, everyone has problems. It's part of the human condition. And if you don't have any, please stand. And everybody didn't, no one stood, no one. And so that's what we have to work through. The problems are what work to your strength. Sure, you have them. And a lot of kids don't have anybody to talk to about them. And that's where we come in, because they will say things to us, I think, that many times they don't want to divulge to parents. We have strong relationships, and those relationships are critical for these students and staff. Everybody's going through all these challenges, no question about it. And it's just life.
Thanks, Larry. Hey, Scott, I've been to your school a number of times, and it's truly a special place. If I can put you on the spot, and what makes Alvarado the special place that it is?
Well, I appreciate the kind words, and I feel like we're always in third and long with no option to punt. So I know it's a special place, but I feel like we're always playing from behind in education anyway. But I guess to best answer your question is we have good people that are working towards the right things. And so when you talk about beliefs and values, and when you talk about the kind of quadrant thing that Guy just so perfectly shared with us again, we spent a lot of time trying to get to that inside of us and outside of us, mostly the outside of us, where we've spent, about 3 years now, and you were with us just, last week or whatever it was, a couple of weeks ago, kind of wrapping up the process, if you will, although it never ends. But we spent a lot of time on creating that and building that outside of us. And so what are our beliefs and values? What is it that we believe about students? What are the core values that we believe that all of us at Alvarado should live by on a daily basis? And so we have a team now of people that are carrying that out every day, right? I say every day, but sometimes, October 20th gets hard, or March 13th gets hard, or whatever it may be. But we try to come back to that, and we try to allow that to unify everything that we're doing, and drive all of our decision making, our policies and practices, even when it comes down to the instruction happening in the classrooms. So if you were to ask me what makes Alvarado a special place, that's what I would say, is that we've really taken the time to create and develop those shared beliefs and values, and allow those beliefs and values to drive every single thing that we do.
Well, as an administrator, when we walk into a classroom to do an observation, within the first 10, 15, 20 seconds, if it's happening, because there's a certain feel, there's a certain level of engagement, a certain level of connectedness that you can see. What Scott and his team have done is to find ways to connect and link everybody to these beliefs and values. They call it honor. And they've taken the time to build this and identify it. And then everything they do is based on honor, which is, help me with that, Scott, when I go through there. It's honesty, it's ownership, never give up. What's the next O?
Open-hearted.
Open-hearted and respect. Oh,
Yeah.
God, almost all of them. But everything they do at their school it's absolutely fabulous to watch how that has been just runs through the entire school community and their decision making, and even within their instruction, which is what I see is making it so very special, is that they've taken their beliefs and values and woven it into their daily teaching objectives. And so everything they do revolves around honor. It's walking into the classroom and watching what takes place is absolutely phenomenal. I know Jessica's on the line. Jess, would you like to share some of the interactions that have taken place and really what makes Alvarado a special place?
Bart, can I jump in real quick?
No, but go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to, because you have me on unmute, so I'm going to. So, and I'm glad you're asking Jessica, because she's not going to tell you this, but Jessica's the reason that it's all happening, right? Like she was behind, she's the driving force, and she's the one who has taught everybody how to kind of like use honor in their daily lessons or in their, whatever kind of unit plans they may have or whatever it may be. And she's been super skillful in making that happen. And I know she hates that I'm saying this right now, but I want to start with that because we wouldn't have been able to figure that out without her. And the way that she's been able to get people to have that understanding, and people outside of Alvarado have that understanding, is pretty special.
So I think that's you, Jess.
Good morning. I'm just going to say really quickly that I feel like I have to provide a little bit of context. This coming year will be my 3rd year at Alvarado. But when I started at Alvarado, this process of establishing beliefs and determining just the core values of what the school represents, all of that was already in the process of being the process of being determined. So this work had already been started, which was the only reason it was possible for me to start pushing for certain instructional moves. There is no way any of this could have been done with leading with instruction. It had to, the core beliefs had to have been set first and carried into the classroom. And so with that being said, the work that the teachers have done at Alvarado has really just been so incredible and powerful for the students, because Guy, I think you had mentioned a few minutes ago that especially with, well, all students, but especially with high school students, kids know when a teacher is not authentic. And so you might preach a certain value outside of the classroom, and then when you're in the comfort and the privacy of your own 4 walls, some teachers have a little bit of freedom to act a different way. And so that immediately, when you sense that lack of authenticity, it immediately makes certain students check out, quite a few students. So what has been so powerful at Alvarado is that the culture that has been established and the values that have been determined as a staff, those are shared values among staff and among students. And they're not only represented at rallies and assemblies, they're represented within the classroom through lessons and through instructional practices. So I think the really beautiful thing is that we've come to a point where our shared values and our honor principles and our beliefs are not only present in the content that we're using to carry out skill development, but they're present in the instructional practices and strategies that teachers are using as well. And that's a really, really special spot to be in.
Park, another principal was asking me about this the other day, and I was talking to him about this, and it was really good to have this conversation with him, because I went back over the past 3 years and I realized that it really wasn't until this third year to when we got to the point that Jessica's referring to now. Because the first year we kind of created honor. The second year we started working with the beliefs. And we kind of unveiled honor going into the second year to our school, our students, our parents, our community. And we had this huge kind of unveiling of it, and we got stuff up around campus. But then after about 2 weeks, it kind of just went away. And we still had it, and we tried to do things here and there, but it wasn't regular. And I'm getting some feedback there, guy. What's going on?
On Jessica's side. Jessica, if you could mute yourself, please.
Of course, it's Jessica.
Oh, sorry.
Anyway, but what I noticed by the end of this year was that all of our kids knew about honor, and they can all run it off to you because it was happening regularly in their classrooms, like Jessica's referring to. And so this wasn't something like we developed honor year one and then everyone just got a hold of it. We've been trying to figure it out the more and more as we go. In our transition into project-based learning, that also gave us kind of a platform to embed honor into all of the work that they're doing in their classrooms as well. So I want to be clear that this wasn't something that we decided on honor one day with your help, and then it all just, picked up. There's been some real, there's a lot of learning and a lot of growth that has had to come to get us to at least to kind of the point that we're at now.
Thanks for your insight, guys. Jessica, thank you for your input there. Anyone else would like to participate here, and what makes your school a special place? Certain components that you've seen or you've put together to make it a special place. Okay, well,
Parker's got one quick thing. There came a time when I went to college for the first time where there was more than one party you could go to at any given time. You had party choices. You could go to the party down the road. You could go to the party that's being held by the university in the dorm. You could go off campus to that crazy party in the desert. You had the opportunity to make a choice. And it just really strikes me that students don't have that choice most often. They are at your party because they're required to be. And so for me, always, I'm asking the question, do I want to serve vanilla ice cream only at my party? Or do I want to have some multiple flavors, available for these students? And it just seems to me commonplace that we tend to offer students, our staff, our faculty, those things that are just most safe. And it takes risk to offer things that are different. I know you've experienced this, where sometimes you'll make for activities directors, they'll make an event and only 2 people, 3 people will show up. And it's really tempting for those students to feel like it was a complete waste of time. When you are in that seat as an administrator or earlier as an activities director, and when you work with principals and when you work with district level directors, how do you console them when their efforts were only slightly successful?
Well, I think that you have to help them to understand that if you only have 2 people showing up, then or you have the masses are not connected. I think you have to look at starting to believe what the messaging is. And too many schools, when you go to Alvarado, they know who they are, and the kids know, and the kids believe it. And I think that you have to back up to be able to share what is it that we're doing here, and why should you come here? And the kids asking themselves, why should I come to this school? And I think that when you look at certain components of why do we do things because of maybe the traditions. So let's take a look at the traditions. There was one school that I know, the traditions that were set, the first rally of the year when they introduced the freshmen for the very first time to the entire school. The tradition of the school was for the senior class to bring up newspapers and put in front of their face. So what was the message that was being sent right from the beginning to these new freshmen that you wanted to engage in the school and you wanted to make them feel like they're a part of the family, but then the senior class just said, you're insignificant and we don't care. I think that going back and taking a look at a lot of the areas where schools start with their messaging to are kids just showing up to show up? And I think we really need to take a look at giving true meaning and really identify the why instead of just doing it because this is what we do. We have to have a first day of school. So what do you do on the first day of school? You give rules and regulations. And no, schools now are starting to do a much better job of welcoming kids for the first week or first couple of days, where everything is about teaching their traditions and who they are and what it is that they do. So that would be one of the areas that I've seen where people are expecting it to happen and they haven't addressed their why.
Yeah, I agree, Park. What triggers my mind some in this vicinity is we think, and it's really a conundrum, really. We think that announcing is promoting. And it never is. We announce things and wonder why there's no one there for whatever we're having, a meeting or an evening event or whatever it is. We just announce it instead of really promoting it. And when I got to Conway High School in '83, I told the principal I thought we were an NFL training camp in football, because boy, we could sure promote that. We promoted it all week. And so I think we don't really take teaching and learning and academics to that same level that we should take it, because that's why we're there. It's all about teaching for learning, and we got to learn to promote that better as a nation, no matter what state we're in, because it's the power of their mind and the skills they get to do who they want to become.
Any other thoughts on creating special places?
I feel a little left out after Guy made the comment about the college parties, because I went to San Diego State, so I didn't get a chance to experience any of that.
Wait. That's San Diego State. That's like the party school there, man.
I must have missed it all, man. I don't know. I don't know what happened.
They had multi-flavored ice cream there. So
College of California either. I missed that too.
Something to think about as we start to look at preparing for the beginning, the opening of the school year, or within your leadership class, is to use this question to open up dialogue, to get people to really take that inward look and then watch the responses that you get from either the kids in a leadership group or with your Staffulty at the beginning of the year. But this is a great question to use and to think about utilizing when you're preparing your openings. Another question, let's take a look at this. is that what we're trying to do is create a culture of significance where everyone matters. And we like to use that word and say that people are significant, but I'm not sure that our actions truly convey that. Take a look at when kids are walking up to the front gate. Take a look at which kids are speeding up to come to school. Their heads are up, and they're moving in a sort of a hurry up. And I'm not talking about they're being late, but there's this energy in their walk. And then take a look at the kids that they're walking slowly to get in the gate. Maybe their heads are down. Take a look at which kids are coming to school every day knowing that this is a significant place for them, that they're important, that they belong. Because if we look at, for example, celebrations, our celebrations are traditionally athletic driven. And so within that celebration, we're communicating what we value. And if we only celebrate the athletic aspect of it, what we're doing is that we're communicating to some kids, you are really a significant part of our school. But we're really communicating to a large group of students that you are insignificant and that what really matters, you're not a part of. So when we talk about what is it you do to make students know that they're significant, just simple things that think about what you do within the first week of school, the first day of school. Think about areas when kids enter into the classroom. Think about as you're walking down the hallways. Think about what you do from an instructional standpoint to let kids know that they are significant. And what is it that you're doing to let the adults know that they are significant or their parents are significant? So let's open some dialogue. Is that what are we doing? What are we doing to let students know that they are significant?
Park, I'll jump in there again. I think the constant reminders that that Mr. Biddle just talked about in regards to all kids being gifted and talented. And when you talk about instructional practices, do your instructional practices really reflect that? Or are your instructional practices, sorry, the bell's going off because I'm in one of our classrooms. Or do your instructional practices only cater to a few students in the class that are able to even access what you're asking for, right? Or whatever your demands are. Or do your instructional practices allow for every one of your students to display their unique set of gifts and talents? Is your lesson plan for the day, week, month, or year even, is it designed in a way to where it's already final, this is what it is, and all students are either going to be able to accomplish what I've created, or is it opportunities again for students to be able to take whatever the content may be in class and use their unique sets of gifts and talents to kind of display their understanding, their mastery, or whatever we want to call it. Another thing that I think that Mr. Biddle mentioned as well was that we all get to those gifts and talents at some point and at different points in life. I think one thing that's been very interesting for me is the the high school that our middle school feeds into is at our school this summer because they're going under a lot of renovations. So there's about 1,300 high school kids that are on our campus right now. And I got the opportunity now to see students that were here my first year that are going into their junior year. Some that are even just going into their freshman year that we just had, some that are going into their sophomore year. And I wish that all of our teachers had a chance to just come by and just watch them. Watch them during their breaks, watch them in class, watch them coming and go and leaving from campus. Because a lot of them have changed. They're no longer that wacky middle school kid that drove everybody crazy, right? And so, a really good friend of mine told me that recently that like I was supposed to see this, that I was supposed to see these kids and this group of kids that just left us and the ones that we've had for the past couple of years as a reminder of our work, and I wish they could see them because so many of these kids now, and even when I get a chance to talk to them, they're way different than they were 3-4 years ago. And they have different ideas and they have different aspirations and they have different, even maybe belief in themselves. Some of them have really learned about who they are a lot more and believe in themselves a lot more. Others have had those dreams deflated for whatever reason. And so I think what you're talking about is very, very important because we need to make sure that every one of those kids walks in every single day and leaves every single day with some belief in themselves. And so I think the constant reminders of everybody has gifts and talents you have to be intentional and redundant with it over and over and over, because everyone does a really good job of beating themselves up and knowing what all their flaws are. And if we continue to jump on top of that and remind them of what their flaws are every single day, then good luck to them.
Hey, how about if we just try something, a 10-second idea or thought that you've had where you saw somebody either in a classroom or something you did personally that let kids know that they were significant. And I'll start with one is greeting kids by their first name as they enter into the classroom. Someone else take it.
Making a point to call out students' name and then tell them they did something good. They almost expect they're doing something bad, but then saying, good job to the whole class.
Find anything about the kid and have a positive comment or try to connect. So if they have a shirt of some kind of band on or something like that, try to connect. A pair of shoes that you like, whatever it may be.
Try to understand the kid's story and also give students a chance to acknowledge each other for the values that you are celebrating.
Okay, well, thank you. What we want to be able to do is, and our greatest challenge is to create this culture of significance where everyone matters and to let them know that when kids walk on campus is that they are significant, because too many kids are walking our hallways with the idea that they are insignificant, they don't have anything to contribute, they have no worth or value. And as educators, and if we create this world's greatest school, then we can take the steps to help to create this environment where kids know that they have a place where they can come to and grow, they can fail in a safe environment, and then we can become a better person today than what they were yesterday. We're at a point where we can open it up to any questions. We have about 9 minutes. I want to stay within our 1 hour time frame. But any thoughts or questions that someone may have that sort of some significant insight about building the world's greatest schools?
Well, Park,
Is
hearing,
yes.
hearing silence.
Okay.
No, I mean, I'm hearing this silence. what I'd just like to take a moment to interject and just ask you a question is you did some unsolicited advertising for me at the start there, and I
Yes.
appreciate that. I have to admit, knowing what's going on with you and with World's Greatest Schools and with your business right now, it's very surprising to me the degree that you've not really discussed openly what you got going on and kind of the shift that you're making. And I just want to know, is there anything, I mean, would this be a good time just to tell people where you're headed with your team?
Well, we're really excited about launching the Greatness Inside Out. We've had an opportunity over the last couple of years is to really take a look at this process, because we're having a huge impact on schools, on the number of schools that we've been working with. When we see kids' faces and we start seeing all of the data just double and triple within the school, it becomes really exciting. And what we've tried to do with this is to really simplify this whole chaotic process that we call schools. And what we're finding when we simplify it, one, kids get it, they buy in. The teachers are refreshed, they're reinvigorated. We've seen a number of people who are doing some amazing things and are back to teaching, because we've gotten back to a simple place. So we've put together this team, and we've launched this in a number of schools. We have a number of schools coming up that are going to be a part of it, because we truly believe that this has depth and scope that I haven't seen in other areas. What we're trying to do is come in and really transform the culture of the school, and just starting with that simple question, what is it we do? And think about that, is that nobody can answer that. And it's like, duh, why is it we can't communicate to people what it is that we do? And I'm not talking about education needs where somebody says we're preparing kids for the 21st century, because I'm not sure that I can answer that question, because I don't know what the 21st century looks like myself. But I believe that we can change lives and impact futures, and we can rally everything we do around that component. So if you're interested in that, please reach out at the bottom of the screen there. I think, can you see that screen okay?
Yes, we can see that perfect.
Okay, I switched it and paused it for a second. I just want to make sure I did the right thing. You can visit edalchemy.com. It's at the lower portion of the page, and to find out more about what it is that we're doing, or reach out to me personally. We're excited about this. I think that we're going to have a huge impact on schools, and if you'd like to join us, please do. And thanks, Guy. Appreciate that. like to let you know that our next webinar is we plan to work on what we do to connect others to your unique identity and culture. We want to also start planting the seed as you prepare for the upcoming school year, because we're in that mode now. What is it you're going to do to connect people to who you are? What are you going to do in the opening to identify your culture, your beliefs, your values? What is your plan? What are you preparing to put together for the first week of school? And what are you going to do within that plan to create a culture of significance where kids know that they're important? Or is it just going to be the same old plan, same old thing? Or are you looking to do something innovative and something that's really going to matter to kids? So stay tuned, and we'll get this all taken care of through the emails. And if you have any suggestions or insights, please reach out to us, because we want this to be beneficial and make a difference in your life, in your school, and hopefully refresh, reinvigorate, and take you to the next level. Love to be a part of that. So I just want to say thank you for joining us. Thanks for your comments, your insights, and appreciate who you are and what you do. And as we head into this celebration of our nation, please enjoy yourself and make sure you don't blow yourself up.
blow it up in the right way. Yeah. And lovely team, this recording will be placed online within the next 72 hours or so. We'll send out a notification that it's been placed online for your listening pleasure. I know that many people were not able to attend today, and they'll be enjoying that recording. And again, thank you, Park, for your leadership and for your teaching. And we hope everyone just has a delightful week.